Calaroga Shark Media.
Hey there, I'm Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. Jim Jefferies started at age 17 in 1994. He did some open nights in Sydney and said 2 of them went really badly and 1 of them went okay. In fact, one that went badly hurt me so much I thought, this is all I'll ever do in my life. I didn't get back on stage until I was 20. Now, it's all I could ever do in my life and the only real job I've had. I think about it a lot and I do feel really lucky. We all get older, Jim says. I still push boundaries, but it's a lot less about shock and more about clarity now. The funny thing about comedy is that it's more universal than people think. People everywhere relate to having kids, hating their jobs, worrying about money. The accent changes, but the laugh is the same. Mike Birbiglia told Gold Derby about meeting Pope Francis, the previous pope. Meeting Pope Francis was very moving, and I think it was very inspirational. He was a deeply kind, loving, and compassionate person who wanted change for the Catholic Church. And he wanted progressive ideas, blessing gay couples and welcoming divorced couples back into the church, and all these things you would sort of go, well, of course. But actually, there's a faction of people who don't want that to be the case. And so I say in my special, I go, in case you don't know this pope, he's pretty good, but only compared to other popes. If you met him at a party, you'd be like, this guy? But compared to popes, he's amazing. Some of the popes were literally Nazis. By the way, the current pope, Pope Leo, I'm writing a podcast called White Smoke. And we've been putting that out 7 days a week since Pope Leo took over. There is, the podcast is barely religious. Like, this week alone, we were talking about how Pope Leo met Al Pacino and how Pope Leo is related to Madonna and Justin Bieber. And he's a White Sox fan. So there's all kinds of fun stuff to talk about with Pope Leo. That podcast is called White Smoke, wherever you get your shows. Birbiglia said, I feel like stand-up comedy is always best when it's whatever you're obsessed with. And my obsession, when I started writing this thing, was the good life. How do you answer your child's questions? We don't necessarily know the answers. I was really knocking it out of the park when she was 5 with the answers, but now that she's 8, I don't know all the answers. I don't know how to explain drugs and the thing that happened with my dad. Birbig's daughter asked if Grandpa was okay. He had a stroke, and Mike said he didn't know. That's when it was like, oh, well, let me try to say this on stage and see if I can find the comedy in it. If you look at all my specials, that's the challenge behind each one. How can you take a light-threatening sleepwalking disorder and make that funny? How can you talk about having bladder cancer and make that funny? And it's like, if you can, that's the ultimate comedy handshake with the audience. And if you can't, then you just have to find another topic. I've developed a relationship with my audience where I trust them now to be okay with it, and they trust me to take some big swings emotionally. I think it's symbiotic at this point, and I think there's a degree to which, as a comedian, the audience will go there if what you're saying is funny. If it's moving, the audience will go there. And if it's boring, comedically or dramatically, they won't. Jimmy O. Yang told the South China Morning Post, there's an expectation, especially if you grew up in a Chinese family, to go to college, and there's only a few majors that are considered legitimate majors, like doctor, lawyer, economics, finance. At first, I was an engineering major, but then didn't love it. I tried to find something easier that would also make my dad happy, so I chose economics. His dad helped him get an internship with Smith Barney. Jimmy says it was like a golden ticket. Everybody wants to work for Smith Barney. But Jimmy never enjoyed it. He said, when I was a kid, I'd build little forts with my chopstick wrappers. He took odd jobs, tried to make money from his hobbies. He worked as a DJ. He got into comedy and said, I didn't have any stage fright, although my jokes weren't very good in the beginning. I think Hong Kong people have a great sense of humor, so I learned a lot from that growing up. Of course, my dad. He's a very funny, charismatic Shanghainese man. Bob Odenkirk, you have any wisdom for us? Bob tells Esquire, no, I do not have worldly wisdom to give anyone. It's a strange moment for me. I feel more uncertain than I have in a long time about who I am, what I'm trying to do. I've been out of my element for about 15 years now, starting with Better Call Saul. I had to leave this dramatic show, and I had to learn on the job. And then I did an action movie called Nobody. I'm coming to the end of a chapter where I redefine myself, but I'm not sure what that means. One of my qualities on screen is that I'm strangely earnest. My earnestness weirdly doesn't lend itself as well to comedy, which is what I've done for most of my career. It fits better in a drama. One of the weird things about where I am now is I don't know what to do next. Where's the next load of laundry? There's no laundry to do. I didn't deserve half of what I had. You know, I can't pretend like I have to engineer some great career. I'm so far past anything I had any right to dream of. So I guess I have to work on myself, which is that wonderful thing people do when they have enough money and they're honest about the fact that the universe has been really good to them, and anything that remains that's a discrepancy or an unsettling feeling is all theirs. He does have advice about fights. In a real fight, I would, upon the advice of every single stuntman I've ever worked with, get out of the room as fast as I can. Every one of them will tell you the first thing you do in a fight is get away from the fights. Fights are not fun and they're not good and almost no one wins. It's not a movie. A lot of what you do for screen fightings goes against the basic rules of actual fighting. When you swing a punch, you go big and wide as you can, which is not a good idea in a real fight because now you're way open. Iliza Schlesinger's tour dates include Estonia, Poland, Croatia, Slovenia, Bulgaria, Romania, and Greece. Eliza says, I'm very lucky to have fans all over the world, so I always get to do Europe. I was in Finland, which is an incredible comedy market, and these girls came to my meet and greet. They made me this really cool card. They kind of look like me, and they were like, you should come to Estonia. I never thought about A, Estonia, and B, that there would be cool girls like that, so we've been working on this tour for a few years, and I was inspired by meeting those really cool girls. I hope they're still my fans because I'm coming. You should always be mindful of where you are and what your audience is. Outside of America, certain references will land because of our pop culture, but I think it's always good to cater to and never pander. A couple local jokes is great, but the point of view stays the same. Seth Meyers did a lot of press for some reason this month. He spoke to the Good One podcast. He said one of the ideas for SNL 50 was, I wanted to have all the impressions of Democratic presidents come out and just thank the liberal institution of SNL. Then the fake presidents would say, thanks for your help. We've won 6 out of 13 elections. Myers said, as much as people talk about how influential SNL is, it's like sub 500. If you truly believe it's the liberal media, it's wildly ineffective. And I like this profile from Star News Online, who tells us Wilmington, Delaware's most controversial comic. She's a gay conservative mom and recovering addict. She also claims to hate being gay. Ellie Coleman has a lot of good quotes in this article. Her production company is Ellie Degenerate Productions. Ellie Coleman says, mainly I'm just focused on what pays my bills and gives me a savings account. She sounds very real. I don't leave my house for less than $300 unless I want to. And being able to do that, like coming from being homeless to being able to pay me $300, it's pretty cool. We are told her comedic persona is a heightened version of her chip on the shoulder personality. One might call it lesbian redneck. A millennial blend of white trash, hip-hop, conservative-leaning politics, and jokes about everything from gay sex and drug abuse to being married and raising a toddler. Coleman used to wear her hair in a mullet. She wears baseball caps, padded vests with furry colors, and or Dale Earnhardt t-shirts under flannels. She describes her style as 100% insensitive. It's insensitive, and it's what half the population is thinking, but they're too scared to say it. During June, she jokes about the pride flag. She started making jokes about Biden during the 24 election because she was sick of hearing so many liberal Trump jokes, and explains, a lot of the stuff I say on stage isn't how I really feel, but I'm dead serious when I joke about being gay on stage. I think the gay community has taken it way too far. We got dudes marching around in Speedos and stuff around kids. It's okay, maybe tone it back a little bit, Go do that in a bar. She sounds like a lot of fun. I enjoy her. She is Ellie Coleman, and that is your comedy news on this Sunday. If you enjoy the program, please tell a friend about it. They might like it too. If you would like the program commercial-free or without fee drops, go to calaroga.com/plus. Or if you're on Apple Podcasts, click that banner that says uninterrupted listening. See you tomorrow.